Hello, my name's Ian Burfield. I'm an actor, a would-be writer who's cornered the market in things that have not been produced, and I'm an amateur singer-songwriter. And I mean amateur singer-songwriter. I've been going for a long, long time, since prehistoric days, I think, 35 years almost. But I've been very fortunate. I've kept in work for the majority of that time. I've appeared in For Vendetta, the International, a great little British film, I shouldn't say little, but budget-wise it wasn't huge, called The Selfish Giant, which is extraordinary. And pretty much every TV show on British television that's been running for several years. Heartbeat, Casualty, Holby City, Coronation Street, EastEnders, Endeavour, Lewis, Hetty Wainwright Investigates. I mean, it's silly, stupidly endless.
At what age did acting, first start becoming an interest to you?
Oh God, do you know, someone threw this at me a little while back, and I genuinely don't, well, I say I don't know, probably about late teens, I would guess. I had no inclination. I still haven't got an inclination, really. I always wanted to be a journalist. But I come from a very, very small town in Essex, which is like most places is now expanding because of house growth. But I don't know, probably about then. I had done stuff as a child at juniors and infant school, where I'd been yanked out of my position of banging a drum heartily to play King Herod, which didn't require any learning of lines. I just sat there with a crown on my head and looked pompous. I took German. These are in the days when you could take choices or you could select what you wanted to do at school and college. And I took German as an option because I thought, oh, that'd be a good thing. In retrospect, it probably would have been because my oldest lad lives in Hamburg. My German teacher and my drama teacher got together and said, you're crap at German, but you're quite good at drama. So they changed my options over for me and made me do drama. And it kind of went from there, from being a shy kid to suddenly finding this, with no family history, to finding this joy in just playing other parts and losing yourself in different places. I guess that was it, really. I had no intention, like I say, I wanted to be a journalist, no real intention of going to drama school. And then my drama teacher at sixth form came round one night with half a dozen cans of lager and said, sign this, you're going to drama school. I said, no, I just slipped in the back door. I didn't know anything about it at all. And I didn't come from an area where it was, it was abundant. And he said, no, you're going. So I signed this piece of paper, got into drama school, couldn't get a grant in the days when you could get a grant. And I was told by the grant authority, or my other drama teacher at the time, the grant authority had deemed that I wasn't going to get a grant because I wasn't serious enough. What I found out afterwards was I was serious enough when they said action, and when they said cut, I just messed about. I thought, well, that's by the by. It's got nothing to do with what I'm doing. And so I wrote them a stinking letter and told them to F off. And the next year they gave me a grant. So I went to drama school. And that was it, really. And I just got my head down. And again, even now, I wonder what the hell I'm doing. But probably mid to late teens.
Coded curfew is now in effect. Any unauthorized personnel will be subject to arrest. This is for your protection. A yellow-coded curfew is now in effect. Any unauthorized personnel will be subject to arrest. This is for your protection.
Whoa! Excuse me, miss.
I'm sorry, I didn't see
You in a hurry, are we?
I was just...
It's past curfew, you know.
My uncle, he's very sick.
Oh, sick uncle, is it? What do you think on that, Willie?
It's a load of bollocks, what I think.
I made a mistake. I shouldn't be out after curfew. I know that.
Yeah, well, maybe you could look after us before getting back to your uncle. See, my friend here, he's kind of sick, don't you, Willie?
Real sick. Bad case of the blues. You can feel them.
Don't touch me.
Look, Willie, Kitty's got claws.
She just threatened us.
That she did. You know what that means, don't you? It means that we exercise our own judicial discretion.
And you get to swallow it.
Oh, God, your finger, man.
Oh, she's getting a picture.
No, please. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Not yet, you're not. But you will be. By sun up, if you're not the sorriest piece of arse in all of London, then you'll certainly be the sorest.
Oh, God, no. Please don't do this. I'll go home. I won't do it again. I swear. Please.
What do you think, lads?
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Help! Please, someone help!
The multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him.
What the hell?
Bugger off!
Disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smoked with bloody execution.
We're fingermen, pal.
We're off to blame in this 'tis too much proved that with devotion's visage and pious action we do sugar o'er the devil himself.
What's that mean?
Spare the rod.
So was there anybody, you know, for you when you were young or at any point in your life that, you know, was an inspiration or an icon, you know, for you know, the acting industry that you went into?
Well, I grew up in the 70s, so yeah, the contemporaries at the time were your De Niro's, your Pacinos, your Hoffmans, your people like that. So yeah, I mean, I grew up with when I went to sixth form, so you know, between the ages of 16 and 18, I think, I got in with a bunch of people who, one of them is now, I don't know what his official title is, but he's one of the top people backstage at the National Theatre. Another one is a well-known music journalist, and another one makes his own horror flicks in Hollywood. So you know, it was a creative time and a creative group, and we're still all in touch. But you know, I watched films. I didn't have any real inclination or thought about what I was doing. And so we got to drama school. I got to sixth form, and suddenly you're thrown in the deep end, and you're doing big productions for crowds that you never dreamt of. And I mean, 200 people. You know, it's not a massive crowd. But people who came along, and the local papers would review you, and you'd get reviewed, and you think, oh, this is okay, yeah, I'm enjoying this. But never, even now, I mean, I think the older you get, the less idolatry you become. Because you see people for what they are, you know, in a good and bad way. But there are still people, I much prefer the people who are sort of disappearing a little bit in the background, you know, the ones who are doing the real work. I think, you know, stars are stars, and they're wonderful and they're great, and we look up to them. But the thing is, you know, most actors are not going to be stars, and that's not to be negative and go, oh, I'm never going to be in that position, because no one knows. Could be round the corner, might never be there. But the majority of us are just trying to make a living, and I'm fascinated by the people who are more like that. It's more interesting to watch people who have honed their craft by doing stuff on telly and working small parts, getting bigger and bigger as the years go on, maybe never making it to stardom or the lead part, but you know that they're going to add something to a show when they're on screen. So, but yeah, that's De Niro and Pacino. You know, I love De Niro. As a kid, I think he's got lazier. But then, you know, why not? He's 78 years old, for Christ's sake, or 79 years old. I think he's realised that he's got other ventures. He wants to live his life now. And if he sees this and sues me for calling him lazy, I'm sure he won't. But, you know, I think, you know, everyone does. You want to kind of kick back eventually. You want to go, you know, I've done my work now, and it's time to reap the benefits of life. So, yeah.
What do you remember the most about your very first audition?
I thought I'm in the wrong place. Because when you're at drama school, no one tells you these things. Yeah, you get. I mean, we never did real telly technique either. I think Tony McHale came in, who used to write EastEnders and created did a lot of work on EastEnders. And Tony's still around doing stuff. Tony McHale came in and gave us about 4 hours of TV technique, which, and I might be dreaming this, which I think amounted to putting a cardboard box on our head with a telly shape cut out the front so you could get used to that space, you know, that little square, and cut down on your movements, because stillness is a massive part of doing television. What was the question?
You know, what was your there's me thinking what the question was. What do you remember from your first audition?
Oh yeah. It was a theatre audition. I was very lucky. The day I finished drama school, I got my first job and my first agent. But when that had finished, I did about 3 months at Coventry at the Belgrave Theatre. And I remember going to the sit, and it was in this really stinky, shoddy, smelly old church hall. And you know, as a young actor who thinks, stupidly, this is going to be not glamour and glitz, but it's certainly going to be more than this. You walk in and you go, "Oh God, am I in the right place? This is disgusting." But I was. That's what I remember of it more than anything else. And also just again, it's a generational thing. I had an audition last week for something, and there was another audition going on, and there were 4 young lads there. And I say young because I'm old enough to be their granddad. One of them brought his dad, I guess, as a chaperone. And not one of them looked at each other. They all just sat there on the phones. And the one thing when I started, you used to go in and go, "Oh, hello, all right, over you introduce yourselves, get a conversation going, you didn't know where it would lead, if someone..." And these 4 lads were just heads down, you think, when are you going to learn? You're never going to... I'm going to digress a little bit. A few years back, I was working on the backs of lorries, unloading lorries for a couple of weeks in between jobs. And 2 18-year-old lads were assigned to work alongside me. And the first lorry came in, and one of them got on. Didn't say a word to me. And I talked for him, but he never said a word, didn't introduce himself. And eventually, after talking to him for a while, I said, "So what do you do?" "Oh, I'm at college." I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm studying film, I want to be a director." I said, "Oh, great. I'm an actor, I can give you a bit of experience or a bit of what I've got and what I know." And we talked, and he was fine, he was a nice kid. That afternoon, get on, and the other lad gets on. While the other kid's gone off for a break. "What do you do?" After half an hour of silence. So "I'm at music school." I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I want to write soundtracks." I went, "Oh, right, okay, well." Talked to him about that. Third lorry came in that evening, and they both jumped on because we were in a rush to get it out. And they never spoke to each other for about an hour. I was doing all the talking, and eventually I went, "Just do me a favour, introduce yourselves to each other and tell each other what you do, because if you don't, you want to be a director, you want to be a soundtrack writer, you might be able to help each other or be of use to each other in the future. You'd not even introduced yourselves, because it was just, and it is a slightly non-verbal, uncommunicative world we're turning into, which is a worry, because people are interested. Talk to them. Some not, but most of them.
49 armoured. Add it all up. Take it to the back. Give us your pan. 1 of alley.
30 over your chip and pin, aren't you?
And 1 of brass.
He's a good trotter, the best.
Yeah, well, everyone here has got best, haven't they? I've had the lad training diesel.
All right, love.
He's fast, very fast.
£5. That's for you.
Ta.
8. And that's for you.
Ta.
Hi, Mick. You all right, lads?
All right, mate.
Hi, darling. 2,960. Next one. 2,960. All right.
Here, are you like an horse and cat to me and Swifty, and we'll bring you back some proper scrap?
You've no experience. Fuck.
Hang on. His granddad used to be a rag and bone man.
You should be at school.
I hate school. I'm a fucking scrap man, me. No, listen to this, mate. He's a proper grafter, listen.
Does he ever shut up?
You up for it then, kitten? Chip and pin v diesel, Sunday, A65.
Of course.
Let's have a look at him then.
Who?
Sugar, who do you fucking think? Diesel, come on.
All right.
See you later.
Come on, then. Here he is.
Whoa, there we go.
Hey. What are you doing, you bloody idiot? Come here. Come on. Wait. Steady. Steady, lad. Steady. Good lad. Steady. He's fast, you know.
Going backwards.
Oh, fuck off.
All right, well, rocket up its ass.
What the fucking hell are you doing that?
Before acting, or in between the acting that you've done throughout your career, has there been any other work that you've done?
Yeah, like most actors, I spent time on building sites. I spent a couple of years to and fro between acting work, looking after autistic adults, which was rewarding but exhausting. I couldn't do it for a living. Really couldn't do it for a living because you just go around in circles. You genuinely, people can't help what they are, but it is just hard work trying to communicate. Just the usual stuff. I've tried call centres. I lasted a day. Call centre, I went, not for me. Ticket offices, whatever's there, you just grab what you can. Bit of gardening. You don't have a lot of choice. It's like I said, most actors are not going to be stars, are not going to be constantly working. Even stars are not constantly working. They just make enough money not to have to work in between. But at the end of the day, you've got to keep your family going. In the last few years, I haven't as much because people don't want to argue at this. I'm going to be retraining at some point in the next 6 months. I've booked a course, which I now can't do, but they're going to let me transfer it to the next course in massage therapy, just as a backup, because the older you get, if you can't find that work, it wasn't a necessity when I was younger. I was lucky. I did, I had mates who were in certain businesses who would ring up, go, do you want a couple of days work? Do that. But I'm getting close to 60 now myself, and they're older than me, so a lot of them have retired, their businesses have gone, so that's not around. Plus, as you get older, I've had back problems in the past. I can't be sitting on building sites knackering myself to the point where I can't actually do acting work as well because my back's gone. So you have to be careful. You've got to look after yourself. And I'm not in bad shape. I could be in better shape, I'm sure, but I'm practically vegetarian. I barely drink. I exercise every day. Jesus, you've got to have some kind of life in you. And any actor who thinks they can get away with not doing that, I think is misguided. Really, if you need to build up a CV as well of not just acting work, but in case it doesn't work out, you need to be able to go, I've got this other work that I've done as well. Luckily for me, it has, for the majority of the time, worked out. But it doesn't mean it's I'm working every day, because I'm not.
What role that you've played, either in a, as a guest role or, a lead role in a TV series, TV episode, film, franchise that you've done, has been the most fulfilling?
Depends what you mean by fulfilling. I suppose I'd have to say, not necessarily it was a great part to play, but the thing that got me noticed in the early 90s was a series called The Knock, which was a big customs and excise thing on ITV. And it got me out there, and I was only on it initially on a daily contract, and things just clicked, and they got me on it as a regular. Well, I was down to play a regular, but they didn't want to. They weren't sure how much I'd be on it, so they only kept me in on a daily. And things just clicked, and mainly that was down to do with. Again, I don't know how far back your knowledge goes because you are young or younger. I worked with an actor called Anthony Valentine, and Tony was. God, he's not with us anymore, bless him. He was incredibly supportive. I learned so much from him. I still now consider him to be a mentor because he taught me so much about telly and about angles and just about and being supportive and those things, you know, where it doesn't take much. In life as well, you know, you walk down a road and you talk about having your head down when you're on the phone all the time. If you walk along the road with your head up and go, come on, you know, I'm not saying you can cure people's depression or make them feel fantastic, but just saying hello, good morning, you look nice, you smell good, you know, it bumps people up a little bit. And he was, and then in any business, not just the acting business, but you know, to be supportive of the people you're working with. It's not a competition, you know, scenes work because you're all working at the same level. So as far as that goes, the knock, I guess, I get even now, I think. I mean, I've done some really nice plays over the last few years. I don't get to do a lot of theatre because I think people consider you, because you do a lot of telly, they assume that. I've actually had producers come up to me and go, who've come to the theatre and seen the acts and go, I didn't know you did theatre. So what did you think I trained in? It's what you do. But I did Great Expectations at Leeds Playhouse, it's called now. About, Christ, time flies, doesn't it? About 8 years ago, probably now. Maybe not as long. With a real ragtag. I said this to one of the other actors that I'm still in contact with, and he's left the business now. He's training to be a nurse. He's a lovely actor called James Barrett. And he said, I always remember you saying this. And I meant it. I said, this is a real ragtag of people. This is like a bunch of bohemian travellers who have come together to perform a show. We had a great script by a guy called Michael Eaton, who's a really, I mean, he knows his Dickens. I think he's part of the Dickens Society. And he was a great writer. And he taught me about writing as well, because he'd written a scene. I played Magwitch, the criminal, and he'd written a scene for me at one point. I couldn't learn it. I kept going off because, this is driving me mad. I learned quickly normally, I just couldn't. And he came up to me one day and said, I've cut some of that scene. It doesn't mean anything. You're just repeating stuff. And he swapped it around a little bit, and I suddenly learned it. That was it, done. And I appreciate it, and I admired that, because as a writer, he knew that he'd overwritten it. Not just because I couldn't learn it, but he said, I know why you can't learn it, because it doesn't mean anything. And he was going, we had Lucy Bailey directing, and it was exhausting at times. We had an 80-hour tech week, which was shattered. I mean, it was a full-on, but a proper cast of people who did no egos. It was just a joy to be in. I've still got friends from it, people I talk to. It was just great actors. You know, I mean, I get really annoyed with this London-centric thing about, you know, oh, this is the best theatre. It's not. They're a great. Another one I loved doing was I played Joe Carey in All My Sons, which I'm not going to get cast in London because that's not how people see me. I had to go to Theatre Clwyd in North Wales to do it. But Kate Wassenberg, who now runs Out of Joint, was the director. She was just extraordinary. And I mean that. I don't use these words lightly. You know, I think words like genius are bandied about far too easily and too readily. Most people are just doing their jobs and they just have to be good at them. Kate is really exceptional. And a stunning cast of people, Welsh actors who some don't get seen in London. You wouldn't be known in London because they do the majority of their work. And you think these people should be stars, and they're not, because they're not in London, not where we claim that they're. And I think more actors should tour. I know a lot of actors, certainly as they get to my age, go, oh, I don't like touring. And I understand that. You know, you're getting older, you want a bit of privacy, you want your own place, and I get that. But by the same token, I think, you know, we've got to remember that there are audiences out there who cannot afford to get to London. And they want to see certain actors. I'm not saying they want to see me, but they certainly want to see certain calibre actors who either won't tour or only do London. You go, there are people out there who can't afford to come and see you. And you owe it to them because they're your audience to go and play. You really do. Don't stand up on when you're picking up your next award and go, we need to support the arts everywhere. Well, go and support it by playing. Yeah. Is that the end of the question?
And
get myself in more and more trouble with.
No, it's fun. It's fun. And what role that you've played do you feel has had the or what role that you've played do you think had the most difficulties, with that role, like a role that was really difficult to play, had many problems, or,
It's going to sound smug. I don't think of it like that. I mean, the majority of the time you're going to get cast similarly each time you play that. And again, as we've said it before, I'm never going to complain about getting cast or typecast, because it's given me a career. Yeah, there are other things I'd like to do, so you go to the theatre and do those. But I've had a career out of being typecast. I could have had no career out of not being typecast. So, it evens out. But I generally don't really think about that side. I mean, Shakespeare's a toughie. I'm not a natural Shakespearean. I'm really not. And I did Comedy of Errors at the National and the Emmy, and I loved it. It was great fun, but I'm not a Shakespeare speaker. I'm really not. So, but I don't look at it as a problem any time. I always look at it and go, I'll find a way. I'll find a way, And whatever way it is, it's my way. If someone said to you, can you play Quasimodo, and then said to me, can you do it? I mean, it's an obvious thing, Hunchback.
Yeah.
Your version is going to be entirely different from mine, but it doesn't mean to say it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Or it's definitive. It's just what you bring to it, your stuff. So that's how I look at things. I can only bring what I know. And if it's not what people want, we do a lot of self-tapes now. My generation doesn't like self-tapes, but we're having to get used to them. Because we like to go in and meet people and have a conversation.
Well, yeah.
And also then they can tell you if you're doing what they want. You can't do that on a tape. You can only take what they've sent you, description they've given you, and hope that your idea is the same as their idea. But it's, again, I can't worry about that. I can only give what I've got. And if it's not right, it's not right. I can't do the X Factor and scream into Simon Cowell's office and go, oh, Simon, can you give me another chance? I can't do it. And listen, you can't expect to get every job. We're going through different times at the moment. Work is not around as much, so if you're not happy with it, go and make your own work. I'm in the process now of, I'm going to mention some names here because I have to. The last job I did was this Netflix thing called, at the moment it's called Who is Erin Carter? Whether that's what it'll end up being called, I don't know. It was called Palomino, but apparently Palomino in Spanish is skid mark, although probably not in the way we use it. But anyway, great cast, really lovely crew, great director, Bill Eagles, who I'd worked with before very briefly. And I met a guy, an Irish guy over there called Peter Smith, who lives over there. Peter's from Dublin, but he lives over there with his wife and daughters. And Peter's a real go-getter. He's 15, 16 years younger than me, but he's a go-getter, and I need that energy. And it is a different feel over there in Spain. I think there's a more openness to getting money raised. But Peter knows people, and he uses them without being, doing the right way to get things done. And we just hit it off big time. So we're now in the process of, we're writing a script. Well, I'm writing it, he shouts ideas at me, I sit and type it out, but we're writing a script that we're going to try and sell. But we've also, I was talking, so I've got a friend who's a playwright, a guy called John Knowles, who's a Liverpudlian playwright, who lives on the south coast, and he's brilliant. He's a brilliant writer. And he does stuff on the south coast. He's had stuff at festivals, but the big time has eluded John, and it shouldn't have done. And that's life. It's chance, it's luck, it's timing, it's all the usual stuff. But there are times when you look at it. When John asked me to do a one-man show, well, I asked John if I could do one of his shows, and because of other commitments, I ended up having to pull out. I didn't let him down per se because I did warn him that might happen, but I don't like doing that kind of thing. I'd met him via a mate of mine, Sid Keane, who's a lovely old actor. He won't forgive me for saying old, but he is older than me. But Sid's a joy. And he introduced me to John, because John, he'd done a play of John's, a one-man show called Sir Toby Belch is Unwell, based on the Shakespeare character. And it's brilliant. he's just a great wordsmith, John. He's political, but he's not political about, banging you on the head about politics. So I'm now in talk. I asked him to send me some scripts. One of the things he said, because a friend of mine, Cal O'Neill, who's in Endeavour, playing Roger Allen's wife in Endeavour, wants to play. So we're having meetings about a play that John sent us called Time Please, with the view of trying to get it out there and produce it ourselves and get the right people involved. We have a name, possibly, that we're meeting this week coming. I won't, it's purely out of superstition, I'm not going to say more than that. But he sent us another one, which I've handed to Pete, and Pete is now touting it around to names of people who are good names, who he knows, called Diamonds in a Rough, which is about a heist gone wrong. It's a black comedy, but with hard overtones, edgy overtones. It's just bang on the money. It's so well written. It's pretty much ready to go. So, you have to go and do your own stuff. So hopefully me and Pete will be producing something in the next year. And the problem with any of this is you need to get it done. I know people go, you can't just do it. Although my attitude is, well, give me £1 million and we'll just do it. Because if you leave it too long, it becomes passé. Well, it wasn't passé when I gave it to you, but it is now because it's taken so bloody long to do it. Yeah. But it's something we're going to, I think with Pete on board, because he's such a go-getter, it's something that will get done. So, you just have to keep trying with this guy. And it's down to time. You can have all the luck in the world, and you can do the great performances and the bad performances, but I think ultimately it is about you just time something right and someone sees it. And so you keep persisting and keep going. Is that the question? I don't know. It's fun.
What's going on? Well, I know you, so you must be McGiffin. Is he running you, or are you running him? It's all right, Ronnie. Why don't you go and wait by the car, eh?
Guess that answers that. Is he working you with his foot, or what?
You should hear him out, Fred. For your own sake. I understand you're leaving Oxford, Inspector. Putting in for a transfer.
Word gets around.
Yeah, well, that's all very lovely, but you need to settle your mess bill before you go. Your boy's sticking his beak in where it's not wanted. You stop him or we will.
You don't know Morse.
How's Charlie?
What'd you say?
Word is the Yard's looking for your brother in connection with a long firm fraud.
I wouldn't know about that.
But a check with your name on says different. On the other hand, if Morse could be persuaded to do the right thing,
He's an idealist.
sure we all are.
Maybe once counsellor. Now you're just a villain. Same as this toot-bob shitehawk.
Look. You play fair, and all your troubles disappear. The check, gone. Everything back to how it was. Just bring him out to Wicklesham tomorrow. Maybe between us we could talk some sense into him.
Is there any role or character that you would like to have the opportunity to play in the future?
I've always said that I'd love to play Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. Because, and I was completely wrong, I didn't realise. I've always considered Arthur Miller's anti-heroes to be big men who fall. It's more interesting to watch a big man fall than it is a small man because you don't expect it. And I always considered Willie Loman to be a big man. Dustin Hoffman played him years and years ago on screen. on stage, I think, when they filmed it. And I wasn't sure, but apparently he wasn't. He was written as a smaller man, so I was wrong. But I'd still like to play him. It is something I'd like to do. Whether I could learn all those lines now, I don't know, because it gets harder the older you get. But I'd give it a good shot. It is. I love Miller's writing. I think he writes real meaty, interesting parts. So yeah, really, and anything that just is different or interesting. It sounds stupid. I've got a mate at the moment who's making a film and he's playing the Frankenstein monster. I'd love to play that. That'd be fun. I'd quite like to. What I'd really love to do is play something that's so not me, under a ton of prosthetics, and then keep myself out of the credits, and then wait until people found out. And went, God, was that your arm? Because then you prove to people you can do other things. But yeah, each job for me is just really wanky. I just enjoy acting. You know, there are moments in your life where you do, any actor will go, there are points where you think, I'm going to give up, this is just not working, or you've had a few months out of work and there's nothing coming through, I can't keep doing this, so when's the next job coming up? We all go through that. But I do love doing it. It's no good. And I did any little job, I did a thing called Big Boys for Channel 4, which is, it replaced Derry Girls, which was a joy. On Channel 4 by a writer called Jack Rook, who's and it's essentially a piece about Jack's a gay comedian who I say idolised. I don't know enough about it. He did a blog, but his dad was a London cabbie, or a cabbie, a black cab driver, and died quite young of cancer, and it was very quick, and it was a shock to him. And he went to college and discovered, came out proper, and it was a lovely script. And I think they're going with a second series. Whether I'll get seen or not, I don't know, because I literally got seen in flashback because I played his dad. One flashback scene and one voiceover. It's not a massive job at all for me, but they were lovely, and I had a ball. It was just a nice day. People were lovely. People spoke to you and you just thought, maybe. As long as I do something with a part and everyone you get there and everyone's fun, that's it. I'm happy. You'll always find something there. And you lose yourself in the scene as much as you can lose yourself. Because when actors go, I really lost myself, well, you didn't totally, did you? Because you still have to remember your cues and your lines. So you can't lose yourself fully, but you lose yourself as much as you can. But Willie Loman would be lovely, but I might have to go to the Outer Hebrides to play him. We'll see.
I feel very sick.
I love you, yeah, me?
I need a tactical chunder.
Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Hey. You all right, mate?
Yeah.
You having fun, yeah?
Yeah, I am. I actually really am. I really miss you.
I'm here, mate. Been watching you. Just checking you're okay.
Cool.
Son, you're gonna need a poo soon. But you're gonna have to clench your bumhole really tight. Just power on through, yeah?
Thanks, Dad. I love you.
That's nice.
Is there any TV show or film franchise that you'd like to be a part of or work on?
Yeah, something quite recent actually. Endeavour was the initial one. I would have loved to have done a Morse because I'd read all the books and I love Morse. I got to do a Lewis, which was great because the most enjoyable thing was I got on the bus at lunchtime. It had been written by Alan Slater. Alan Plater, sorry. He'd written loads of great stuff over the years. And I got on the bus at lunchtime to eat and sat next to this sweet little old man who then we talked for an hour during lunch. Big Leicester City fan, and that was the year Leicester won the Premiership, so he was happy. He's not with us anymore, but it was Colin Dexter who wrote the books. And it was great. I'd worked with Kevin before and knew him a little bit, and Kevin was lovely. There's a series on Apple at the moment called Slow Horses with Gary Oldman, which is, I think it's based on a series of books. Well, I don't know what the books are called, but it's centred around a place called Slough House, and Slough House is supposed to be, whether it's fiction or not, Slough House is where they send MI5 agents who've screwed up. And it's run by Gary, who plays this. What I love about it is, it's a real performance. He's the leader of these, they're kids by my age, they're in their 30s, most of them. And he plays this slovenly, lank-haired, pot-bellied, smoking, drinking. He's got holes in his socks. And he does one of those things that you go, I wish more people would do. Not necessarily this, and people go, oh, it's disgusting, it's horrible, but they make a point of making it disgusting and horrible in the show. He lets out these horrible, fruity farts and revels in them. You think, great, because you never see people go to the toilet on screen, you never see people do normal things. And he just pictures it beautifully. He's a bit sort of half Bowie, half Michael Caine, and he talks really slow like that, so you're all fucking useless, you lot. And it's brilliant, and it's thoughtful, it's well paced, everyone's good in it, but he steals it. And it's just, I watched it in 2 sittings, which is rare for me. I'm not one of these binge watchers. I like to have a cliffhanger to wait for, which is not, doesn't happen nowadays. He's just great, and the scripts are great. They've got a second series coming out, I think, sometime later this year. I would love to do that. I'd love to pop at that, it'll be fun. But whatever comes up, there's always going to be something new or different, hopefully, in the future. The show I've just done was great fun, shot up, blown up, all these things. You don't get to do these things. I used to teach in between occasionally, and I used to have teenagers coming into the classroom on a Saturday morning going, oh, my boyfriend, I said, I don't care about your boyfriend. Oh, but I don't care. Come in that class and forget about everything. Because the great thing about acting is you can do things that you can't do in real life.
Okay. Yeah. I just keep thinking I've forgotten something for Jordan's Fair show.
Well, just relax. Everything's gonna be fine. Our little one's coming home. They had some questions about Karen attacking me. You go ahead. I'll meet you at the hospital.
You sure?
Can I help?
I hope so. The body we found in the Argy Bargy. It was Tina Carter.
Tina? You sure? It's terrible.
Look, would you mind popping down the station?
Why?
Could really help us with our inquiries.
Is there any other career you would like to pursue in your future?
I'm happy with what I do. As I said, I think anyone creative, you go through points where you think, oh God, this isn't working, there must be something else, but you'd have to do something creative. The one thing, I love music. I love music, and I wish I'd learned stuff. Not that I would have, I don't know whether I'd have swapped it or not. I tried to learn guitar several times over the years from 15 onwards. Just no patience and very short, stubby fingers that seem to hit every string regardless. just prior to lockdown and the pandemic, I'd been doing it for years. I'd go around to people who I knew were musicians and go, "Do you need a singer?" And they'd go, "No, we're all right, thanks very much." And I became aware as well, because someone said it to me, she said, "You're a big bloke. You're quite intimidating when you walk into a room." It might never occur to me, because I just look at people in the eye and you think you're all the same height and they're all the same size. Anyway, I was with a mate who I sang with in a choir, a silent disco for a mate of ours, which was great. And I said, "Oh, do you need a singer?" And he went, "Yes." I went, "Oh, fuck, now I've got to follow this through." So I get introduced to Will, who's a Northern Irish mandolin player. Mario, who's a fantastic guitarist. And Rob, who is a bassist, who got me involved on the basis that I'd sung a couple of solos with the choir. I wouldn't consider myself a singer per se, but I can hold a tune. So we started rehearsing, and the first thing they said to me was, "Can you write lyrics? Because we've got all these tunes." I said, "Well, send them to me. I'll write anyway." So, and I'm one of these people, if I get my head down and my brain's in the right place, it will come quite quickly. So they sent me one tune, and 20 minutes later I sent them back the lyrics, and blimey, that was quick. They said, "Well, get your head down, get a tune in your head, get a rhythm going and a rhyme going, and it comes." I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's something. So they sent me another one, and I did the same thing. 20 minutes later, I said, "Christ, you're like a bloody machine." I said, "Look, it's just there at the moment. It's not going to last. It's not going to last forever." So we started rehearsing some of these songs. I wrote a song with Mario. He sent me the tune, and I wrote the lyrics. Will sent me a couple, and we wrote lyrics, and we rehearsed them. And then pandemic hit, and when we could, we would get together when you were allowed to, and rehearsed a little bit. And then, of course, we came out of pandemic. Rob was quite wary of the virus, which I understand, because he'd seen a few people quite ill with it, so we didn't rehearse as much. Mario was busy doing other things, so eventually he walked and Will moved up north. So we've become a non-band. But during that time, because they weren't sending us, I was sending lyrics quicker than they were sending tunes. I just thought, get yourself together. So I picked up the ukulele and taught myself the ukulele, and consequently wrote about 30 tunes. And I love it. It's my go-to place now. It's where I just go. There's not a day goes by when I don't pick the uke up. I've now got 6, I think, which is ludicrous. I bought a new one in Barcelona because I was away working and I'd forgotten. Well, I didn't forget. I thought, I'm not going to get it over there. I'll get battered and busted. But I got itchy, so I went and bought one. A mate gave me one which I've painted up and I'm restringing. I bought a banjolele, which is a nightmare to tune, which I'm still trying to tune. It really is a bugger. It won't stay. And I've got an acoustic, 2 acoustics, one electric one. And it's just a joy. I literally go upstairs, disappear for hours sometimes, and get out of the bloody room and come downstairs and do the washing up. No, I'd love to have been in a band. And Peter, who I was with in Barcelona, he's an ex-boy band member, and he still plays over there. He still runs bands and plays in bands, as is his wife. And so he can't do this in England. We're at his house at a barbecue one Sunday afternoon. Myself and a lovely actor called Joe Hatton, who's been around for a few years. And it's in the middle of a housing estate, Spanish housing estate. And after the barbecue, they set up the drums, the bass, the guitar, the microphones. We had a 2 or 3 hour jam session on a Sunday up loud, No, everyone was like, that's all right. If you did that in London, they'd murder you. They'd murder you, turn it down. And it was great, so I love being in places where, it's a great, the thing with music is, when we talk about comedy and acting, things, passing, you don't have to all be speaking the same language. You can get the emotions. You can do that with theatre to a degree. If it's good, you'll understand what's going on. Film, you'll understand, you've got subtitles. And comedy to a degree. But with music, I mean, Peter's family, his wife is Colombian, so they had Colombian people, they had Spanish people, they had Pete and myself and Joe, who are English and Irish. And yeah, all right, we all introduced each other, everyone was lovely, everyone was friendly, you ate your food, but there wasn't a lot of conversation. The minute we put the music in, everyone got up, everyone sang, everyone clapped, everyone tapped their feet. You become a family, almost, you know, so music's great for that. So I'd love to do that. I love singing with a choir, and sometimes, like I say, they're stupid enough to let me solo. I think probably if I was going to, but also I love crafts. I'm an old fogey. So anyone who can, you know, carve something or chisel something or paint something, which I don't have the ability to do. Although I did a pottery course recently, which I loved, throwing pots. I've got nothing but admiration. That's really art for me. That's being able to create and craft something. My wife's really good at it. So's my daughter. I don't have what they have. I don't know if it's patience or whatever it is, but I just don't. At the moment, I guess I could do a course. You know, I love the pottery, and I did create some pots, strangely enough. But yeah, things like that. I'd have to be doing something creative, I think. I really would. I've tried. I mean, I'll turn me out into things. I'm not lazy. You ask me to do a day's work, I'll give you a day's work. Because I like working. And I sit around far too much because the work's not there sometimes. You try and keep yourself busy. But yeah, it'd have to be craft. It'd have to be creative.
Listen, I'm from the Bronx, so you need to keep it simple. Why is the bank buying all this misguidance stuff from Calvini? I don't get it.
The windows stay closed.
You need to relax.
I'm more comfortable tense.
You came to us, remember? You wanted a way out, and now I'm here offering you one.
I only met you 30 minutes ago, and now you expect me just to walk away from everything I know, put my life in your hands.
You want a little more time to think things through, I get it. But we're gonna need another meet. And I'm gonna need to see some paper.
Yes. Now get out of the car.
How do you feel your career progressed over the years, and is there anything you want to improve for your future?
It's not being lucky. I don't, like I said, you know, not everyone can be a star. You know, most of us are treading water in a positive way. You know, I've always looked at it. It's like an iceberg. The stars are the tip above the water. Lots of us are swimming on the surface, and there's a hell of a lot of people who are really trying and are supremely talented. A lot of them. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. Who are floating underneath the surface, waiting for the chances. And you just have to run with it. If you don't like it, get out. No point in running. My agent, who's no longer with us, I'm still with the same agency, CDA, but Caroline Dawson, who started the agency, who took me on 20 or 25 years ago, said to me once, you know, you chose the vehicle, you chose the road. If you don't like it, if it's driving you mad and you're just going to complain and get out, don't do it. She's right. You choose it, you don't have to do it. There are ways of making money out there. If you're prepared to do something that doesn't fulfil you or bores you or whatever, you know, people have to make a living.
Yeah.
People do jobs that are mundane, that are way below what they should be doing, and some people are happy to do them. they just pass the day by and they make their money. That's great. So as far as that goes, I'm lucky. I've been working for 35 years almost. I'm not Brad Pitt, so I must have a modicum of ability. I must have a little bit of something working. As far as that, we're living in different times now. We're living in a time of diversity, which was overdue. Whether those reasons are for the right reasons or not is debatable at times. And I say that from both sides. I've got black actor mates who are not entirely convinced that the reasons are the right reasons sometimes, whether they're just ticking boxes, because clearly at times they are. But we have to live with. I think that sometimes it's gone too far in the sense that you should just be giving the person who's best equipped to do the part, the job. Black, white, green, grey, Asian, trans, whatever. Give the person who's best equipped to do the job. But that might be contentious. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I'm an old man now, well, middle-aged. You get to the point where you lose track of what's going on. My attitude, I've been at the top. I've been as far as the top goes. I've been playing leads in plays and in TV, and I've played middle parts, and I've played lower parts, and I've gone back up, and I've come back down. You go with the flow. I've worked with younger actors who have said to me, "Oh, I've been offered this. I don't know if I should do it." I go, "Well, you need to get a CV together. Don't you? Unless you think you're going to be a superstar, or you're in a position where you know it's going to happen, which is a rarity. You need to put a CV together. I don't know what this is about. It's the right move or the wrong move. You don't know until you do it. You can't preempt it. I've done big programs where I've enjoyed them, but not as much as I should have done, because there's too much money at stake and their egos being banded around. And I've done little films and little jobs where I've walked on where, oh God, why have I done this? And I've had an absolute ball. I've had a great time. And the levels and the quality has been there. And you think, well, don't be a pig about it. Just get on with the job. Enjoy it for what it is. It's a great job. You're very lucky to do it. And as I said, when I talk in between jobs occasionally, I have kids coming in and going, "Oh, my boyfriend." The great thing about acting is you can go and do something, and there's no repercussions. I can work. I can be a bank robber. I can be a cowboy. I can be an astronaut. I can sleep with someone else's wife. But I'm only pretending. Yeah. So there's no repercussions at the end of it. I'm not going to get the police, not going to knock on the door and say, "Oh, saw you on stage robbing a bank tonight." So what? What are you going to do? Prove it. That's the great joy of it. You inhabit other people's lives briefly, or pretend lives briefly, and then you walk home and go back to normality. I think the worst thing is the normality sometimes. And that's not to denigrate people, but I think a lot of actors will probably say real life is not enough. So you inhabit a pretend world. There you go.
What would you say are the advantages and disadvantages of the industry as a whole?
Well, the disadvantages are that you don't have unless you're very lucky, you don't have a regular income. I don't want to bring this down at all. I lost both my parents during lockdown. Not from COVID, from old age and illness, which, as long as things go in the right order, you just deal with it. You have to accept it. That's what life is. So it's the one inevitability. You're all going to go at some point. As long as it goes in the order it's supposed to go in, you get by. But we inherited, myself and my brother and my sister inherited a little bit from a flat sale, not a huge amount, but a little bit of money. My brother has a good job. And will probably retire young, bless him, and good for him. But he's been able to sort of go, well, I can put a bit aside for, but maybe invest. My sister is in the same, slightly different position, but she's got enough money in which she can say and an income where she can go, I can invest. I don't have that facility. I would love to go, I'll bung £5,000. And the initial plan was to do that, but then real life kicks in. And you go, actually, I've got to pay for this, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I might need that £5,000. I was thinking of, because I don't have that regular income, whereas they do. And I think that's That's one of the problems, which is why I'm looking at other things at the moment in order to try and at least get some money coming in between jobs. But hey, that means, but also, we're the last bohemians in a way. The people who 200 years ago, actors would walk around the streets doing shows and hoping that they could make a few quid to buy their next meal or get a room for the night. And that's what we do. We're bohemians. We wander around doing our shows for not a great deal of money a lot of the time, because the government doesn't want to pay us or doesn't want to invest in us, even though we make 35 million a year for them. And they love having their pictures taken with you if you're famous, but they don't want to give you any money. Advantages, like I said before, you get to live all these different lives. You meet extraordinary people at times. I'm not idolatry, I treat everyone exactly the same, if I can. But you do meet extraordinary people who make you laugh, who make you cry, sing great singers, and people that you might not meet because they don't have the chance to do that in normal jobs. That's not to say they're not out there, but they don't get that facility in their life, But it's for me, it's that joy of being, I get to do other things. I get to meet different people. I get to travel. I just spent 4 weeks in Barcelona and I only worked 9 days. And I got paid. Now people go, oh, that's great. Yeah, it is great, and I got well paid, but it also makes up for the fact that I was out of work for 4 months before that, and I might be out of work for another 4 months after that. So it evens out, But that's again, I chose the vehicle, I chose the road. It's just, if you can't enjoy this game, then you're in trouble. I think if you're doing this purely for the fact that you need to do it in order to either satisfy something or you need to pay a bill, that's not the right reasons to do it. You do it because you love doing it.
Yeah. And, to add on to some of the stuff you've mentioned, what advice would you have for anyone pursuing a career in this industry?
Well, it's the old cliche, but it's do it because you love doing it. Because the vast majority of people will come into this, there will be people left by the wayside. And this always sounds, I don't want it to sound negative. You've got to be realistic about it, because you do plays quite regularly, you do Q&As, and there'll always be one hand goes up and says, oh, what advice would you give me? Well, do it because you love doing it, because there isn't money in it a lot of the time. Sometimes you're going to have to do. I was very lucky because I did drama school. The day I left drama school, I got my first job and I got my agent. That's fortunate. It wasn't a massive job, but it was still a job. Got started to get me the equity card. And I was very lucky. And I've been pretty lucky most of the time ever since, work-wise. But a lot of people won't be able to do that. They'll have to take a more circuitous route. They might have to go and do street theatre, they might have to go and do unpaid theatre in the sticks somewhere where they go, I'm not making it, but what you're doing is you're getting experience, you're gaining something there. That's the positive side, but the negative side is you might have to do some crap job somewhere in order to fund that. But if you really want to do what you want to do, then that's what you're going to have to do, because it just doesn't fall into everyone's lap. And I'm saying I'm lucky, despite the fact that I do spend time out of work. I do struggle financially sometimes. At the moment, we're okay, but that's because of this last job. But I don't live in abundance of money. I spend most of the time on the edge of an overdraft facility and just picking up where I can and going to do jobs that drive me insane. But people have to do this every day of their lives, so don't complain about it. But do it because you love doing it, and if you love doing it, hopefully that will show in you. If you love doing it, hopefully if you've got any talent, it will show through because of that. But don't take it personally. When people take things personally, it's just an opinion. I remember Roy Keane, the Manchester United footballer, I knew I'd get him in somewhere, the ex-Man United captain, was criticised by Fernandes, who plays for Man United now, because he was whining a bit, Fernandes, about Keane's criticism of the team at the time. And it was warranted. It was a warranted criticism because they were rubbish at the time. They weren't playing, they were lazy, they were idle. But he defended himself, looking and going, what's he getting upset about what I've said? It's Just like, I'm a pundit, you've asked me for my opinion, that's my opinion, and don't go home and cry over it, it's just an opinion. Criticisms are only opinions of one person, you know. Sometimes I know they can be influential, but if you're going to worry about what everyone thinks, listen, I know there are casting people out there who love me, and I know there are casting people who think I'm terrible. It's just an opinion. I can't make them like me. If they don't like me, they don't like me. If they do like me, great, it might get me work with them. That's life. You're not going to please everyone. But do it because you love doing it, because you get a thrill from it. I remember when I taught years ago, so I told you I would talk. I taught, there were a couple of girls in the class, and we were doing a show at Kenneth Moore in Ilford. And it was only bits and bobs of plays, it wasn't full plays. We did this, I can't remember what it was, it might have been a bit from The Crucible, I don't know. And they weren't listening, they weren't interested. And they kept saying, oh, we can do that. They've got bits, you know, they'd seen the X Factor and thought they were going to be stars. And I said to them, listen, go out and do it for what it's worth. Because one, the people who are watching are your parents. One of two things will happen. They'll be upset and let down if you don't give it what for. The other thing is, if you do give it what for and it's successful, they're your biggest fans. They'll love you for it. And they'll want to see more. And the other thing is, when it works, when you really do it, when it gets you there as an actor, when you have those moments of profoundness and depth and, you know, just, it's extraordinary. It genuinely is. And trying to convince other people, so when you have those moments, you go, wow, that really got me. Hopefully the audience gets that as well. They're the greatest moments for an actor, you know. And to not do that, to not commit yourself to that is insane. But yeah, just enjoy every moment you get the chance to do it. And like I say, they're all big people. Sorry, I keep talking about, when I taught, there was one girl there, Molly, who, Molly's a stunning looking young lady. I mean, she's in her 30s and she just got married. But she was always, she'll hate me for saying this, but she always got the tomboyish kind of parts. So if there was a part, it was mainly girls acting, it's never been boys, and occasionally get a couple of lads, and there's one Kieran who's still going. But, you know, she'd play Fagin, not if a twist, because there was no one else to play it. You know, the boy would play Bill Sykes, and she'd be left with Fagin. Molly went to drama school eventually, and she got into East 15 at Southend, the Polytechnic or the college there. And it was a community theatre course, and she said, oh, I don't know, people could say I should try and get in elsewhere. I said, go, because you don't know. You don't know what it's going to bring you. She had a ball. She now runs her own theatre company in Paris. Wow. Which is funded by the Parisian government, or the French government. Because if you make a living in Paris, they will fund it for you. They'll give you your living. If you prove to them you can do it over a couple of years, which is not happening over here, clearly. But I say it to a lot of people, including myself. If something's worth doing, do it. Go and do it. Don't turn things down just because you think you're too good to want to big fridge. Keep going.
It's a bit random.
It's only a fridge. We'll talk about it. Yeah. You know, we all do it. We all have moments where you think, "Oh, should I do that?" But do it because you might miss the one thing that you really enjoy. Now, most people go, "Oh, I want to be a film actor. I want to be a star." Yeah, of course, people do. You know, you have high hopes. Of course, you do. But don't turn down that kids show, for instance. You know, where you go out to little theatres across the country and you play at kids, because that might be your calling. You might come away from that thinking, I really didn't want to do that, but wow, that was something. Do you know what? I'm going to do that for a living. If you had turned it down, you wouldn't have known. So take what's out there and run with it and see what happens. Like I say, I've done shows at small theatres, small casts, fringe shows, and I had a blast. Audiences got their feet on the stage, basically, and they're shouting at you. Wow, that was great, I loved it. You know, it's enjoy, because you don't get those opportunities every day. Yeah, do it because you love it.
Okay, thank you very much for your time today, Ian.
That's right. I'm surprised you didn't stop me talking.